Tourists, go home, but please come back, 'cause we need your money to pay the price. Tourists, go home, but please come back, 'cause we need your money to pay the crack. Tourists, go home, but please come back, 'cause we need your money to pay the crack. Pay the crack. Pay the crack. Pay the crack.
Let's admit it, tourism in Barcelona is an unresolved issue. Barcelona is a small city of just over 1.6 million inhabitants, but it's one of the world's top tourist destinations, receiving more than 12 million tourists every year. And on top of that, they are all concentrated in a small area of the city. If you've ever been to Las Ramblas, Sagrada Família or Park Güell, you know what I'm talking about. There are too many tourists there. Everybody knows that tourism is an important source of income, but it also has a negative impact. That's why Barcelona residents started to demand that this issue should be controlled, and therefore the city council took controversial actions to reduce the number of visitors to the city. But first, let's have a look at the history. In 2007, two friends who shared a flat in San Francisco were struggling to pay the rent. So to get some cash, they decided to put an air mattress in an empty room to accommodate visitors to the city. That idea would become few years later a company called Airbnb. Many of Barcelona's homeowners saw that renting to tourists was more lucrative than a normal rental and allocated large amounts of housing solely for tourist rentals, trying to maximize profit without providing any quality, cramming dozens of low-quality tourists into flats, which caused a lot of disturbance to the neighbors. And I know what you are thinking. What does poor quality tourist mean? Well, this is what we mean. Tourists, usually young people who travel somewhere in a group to have fun at night and above all, get drunk aloud. Let's be honest, we all have been low-quality tourists at one time or another. This kind of tourism became a nuisance to the neighbors, so soon these neighbors demonstrated and demanded regulation. At the same time, rent prices started to rise in Barcelona and all over the world. Many blamed to Airbnb, saying that since so many houses were being used for tourist rentals, it caused a reduction in the supply of housing available for permanent living. Hence, this increased the price in rental prices. Initially, the Barcelona City Council demanded that to rent a property in Barcelona daily, a special license was required. Up to 5,000 licenses were granted in a short time. In April 2014, the City Council of Barcelona, by surprise, completely suspended the granting of new tourist licenses. Since then, it has been practically impossible to obtain a new license in the most central areas of the city. The City Council drew up a plan in which it defined three major areas. The first area is of tourist decrease, which includes the main tourist zones. Here, not only are new licenses not granted, but every license that is lost won't be renewed. Then there's a second maintenance area, in which a license is only granted if another license has previously been cancelled within the area. And finally, there's a growth area, which affects the more peripheral areas where new licenses are granted. Of course, in these areas, tourists are not much interested in staying. Not only that, but a campaign was launched to detect flats that were being rented without a license. For example, they sent a letter to the houses in Barcelona asking neighbors to report if they suspected that someone was renting their house without a license. and if they caught someone renting out their home to tourists without a license, they were fined with 6,000 euros. So, if you own a property in Barcelona, don't even think about renting it for less than a month. It's considered vacation rental without a license. The council has a team of inspectors working full-time to detect this, and residents are aware to report offenders. The decision of not granting any more licenses hurt many people who made a living from tourist rentals, but on the other hand, it has benefited those who had obtained a license, and they could continue renting to tourists with less competition. Initially, the licenses could be sold independently, but this was banned. The council decided that the only way to acquire a tourist license was to obtain a property that already had one, so these properties were worth more money for having such a license. However, if you are thinking of buying a property with a tourist license and renting it out as a tourist rental, you should be aware that this business model has a few advantages and many disadvantages. Among the disadvantages are the following: excessive dependence on a few platforms such as Airbnb and Booking.com. If these platforms decide to remove your listing for whatever reason, you lose all your business, and that happens more often than you think. A lot of wear and tear. It's not the same that your house is used by one person than by 50. Uncontrolled expenditure of utilities. It's very difficult to control the tenants' use of utilities. You don't know if they are going to use their conditioning all day, you don't know if they are going to take 1-hour showers, or if they are going to leave the lights on. Management costs. You are going to have to hire a company to manage the rentals, and that's a cost. Or if you do it yourself, you are going to have to spend a lot of your time managing it. Trouble with neighbors. If your tenants cause problems to the neighbors, they can make a complaint to the local council, who will be happy to take away your license. Irregular income. There may be a crisis, a pandemic, bad weather, or any other event that affects tourism in Barcelona. Your business is dependent on factors that you can control. Increased risk of burglary. Unless you install some sophisticated access system, you must take into account that many people will have access to your keys. So they can be lost, copies can be made, and that means more insecurity. One advantage of renting to tourists is that you earn more money than you will do with a normal rental. Some official reports say that it is around 30% more than regular rent. Also, you have a greater availability to your house. If one day you want to use it yourself, you don't have to wait for a normal 5-year rental to end. In general, we can say that nowadays, those who buy licensed homes in Barcelona are usually professionals in this type of business. I am Oscar Vaello, a real estate lawyer at Vaello Legal. If you have any questions, you can write them in the comments or send me an email. And you've made this far, maybe it's a good idea to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching my video. See you next time.